Hi, my name is Rhonda Williams. I'm the Executive Director of Imm Seminars. I'm here today with Robyn Jones. Robyn is an RCIC and she was our speaker today for 2 fantastic seminars. So Robyn, the first seminar was on CPC-Vegreville and it was tips and tricks. Mm-hmm. So as an immigration officer, what were some of the things that you noticed RCICs were doing wrong and how could they correct it?
Okay, so I actually was an immigration officer before and after regulation. So we typically noticed when there were issues. So if there was a particular consultant, whether regulated or not, depending on the period of time, it did become noticed. We were divided into groups and teams and we discussed it. So when we noticed that there was a pattern or a trend, and they did make themselves quite apparent very quickly, they were causes of concern. So they were documented and noted. And eventually, if it became problematic, they would be sent to be investigated. From there, we don't necessarily know what happened. Prior to regulation, there really wasn't a lot that could be done because there was no laws preventing what people did. There was no law preventing consultants from acting for other people. There's no recourse. When regulation came in, it was a relief for us as well as for clients, I'm sure, because there was now a protection available for them. But the same thing is when we do notice trends, and that can be from lawyers, and that can be from consultants, and it can be from educational organizations, anybody that deals directly with immigration clients, when there is notice that there are trends or things that seem kind of fishy or there's possible malfeasance, it is brought to the attention of a higher authority and they can take action from there.
And what are let's say the top 3 tips you'd give to RCICs in dealing with CPC-Vegreville as it exists now before the transfer?
As it exists now. File a complete application. That's the first thing, is make sure everything is there. If you have to go over it 2 or 3 times, make sure you do. And we had a question today, is there any value in a submission letter? Absolutely. You want to do that submission letter every single time because you don't know if your file is going to be, okay, it's everything is there, but now we've got the discretionary items. Is that case strong enough? If it's kind of on the fence, your submission letter can make a difference. So if you're they're mostly going to look at your application and what documents you submit. But if they're kind of on the fence, your argument could make the difference. So you always want to do that. Not to mention the fact it's what you're being paid to do. So whether or not they look at it, it doesn't matter. It's just like if you're submitting a copy of a previous work permit, they probably don't really need to see it because they do have access to that information on the computer screen. But that's what you're being paid to do, so it's not a waste of time. You're charging the client for it. You might as well do a good job.
Might as well.
Plus, what about the cases where you must have it? The more you do those letters, the better you get at them. So it's practice, if nothing else.
And what do you think will be the impact of closing Vegreville and moving it to Edmonton? What should practitioners be concerned about?
Probably the biggest concern that we could be facing. It's not an absolute guarantee, but based on previous experience on other issues, it's what I see as being the most likely outcome. You're already going to be dealing with a decrease in staff. Last number I heard was roughly 50 people have declined to take positions in Edmonton out of 280. I don't know if that includes the people that were not offered positions. So casual and most term positions will not be transferring either. They don't meet the distance requirements for competitions, so they're not likely to casuals don't meet any kind of the requirements. They're actually not hired through public service. They're hired by the location, and there's always distance requirements, and they're just outside of that, so they'll never meet the requirements to get a position in in Edmonton. So you're looking at an immediate decrease. A lot of the staff cannot And some will not, but most cannot take the positions because they can't afford the significant increase in cost of living to Edmonton. And the commute is horrendous and it's ridiculous. There's no public transportation, so they're looking at anywhere from 3 hours of traveling per day, anywhere up to 5, 6, 7 in really bad weather. It's ridiculous.
So what is the impact likely to be on actual files?
On actual files, you're looking at tired officers, demoralized officers, you're looking at high stress, so we're going to see a number going off on stress leave. It's happening already. You're looking at a significant decrease in staff, so high percentage will be gone. The 50 is only what I've heard so far. They had to actually give an answer as to whether or not they were going to take an offer. They've made that decision. This is based on who's not going. That doesn't stop somebody from resigning at a later date. I did that commute for a year, and only from the eastern city limits to Vegreville, which is all highway driving. That's not including the half-hour one-way drive through rush hour traffic to the downtown core. You're also looking at increased costs for them. So you're looking at high stresses, which is going to impact morale. It's going to impact productivity significantly. You're looking at possible missing files.
That was a big problem with Buffalo when they closed. They lost files for years.
In Vegreville, we had several years we were still receiving cases of files coming in that had gone missing, or they were still being, because of old documentation, were being sent to the wrong office. So particularly when you don't have, when you have things that happen often enough where you're not necessarily checking the location that they're going to, they're going to end up going to the wrong place. And when you're dealing with hard copy files, they're going to go missing. That said, I don't think it's going to be quite as impactful in that sense as it was when Vegreville first opened, because you had files coming from all over the country. I don't think it's going to be that impactful because there are a large number of online applications, so those won't be influenced because they will be on a database, so they will be accessible from any location. But you'll see those hard copy files, and some of them you have no choice but to send that way. So you're going to see an impact there. They don't have workflows established, and a lot of the workflows depend on the physicality of a building. The current building is actually built into a round. So what happens is the carts, they had an electronic cart for a while, now they just have a physical cart where all of the files were put on this cart and programmed to stop at each team. So then the clerk would grab the stuff on the team and it would just keep going around the building, and into the mailroom and around, and they would be added and removed as needed, and that kind of thing. So that is a workflow that makes sense. I mean, that's part of the workflow, and it was a big time saver. But in offices in Canada Place are not usually set up that way, so they're going to have to develop that. We've already seen how changing lines of business to other locations can result in inefficiencies, and CPC Mississauga, unfortunately, is the prime example of that. They've never been as efficient as Vegreville. I mean, it's a sad reality, but and nobody seems to know why, including staff at Vegreville. After this length of time, they should have developed some kind of efficiency, and they haven't for some reason. So, and that could have a lot to do with the physicality of the building too, could have an impact on that.
Okay, so thanks a lot, Robyn. And for anybody who wants to know more, you just need to have a look at Robyn's seminars on our recordings, and you'll get lots more information about Vegreville and how to avoid boomerang files. Thanks a lot.